Recording stopped. Part of the purpose of these meetings is to have somebody remind me to turn the mic on. Hear information about from staff, applicants, and citizens, and then to make recommendations to the City Council. For each individual agenda item, staff will first present the items. The committee and elected officials will have a chance to ask questions, and then the public will have an opportunity to make a statement. Any action taken tonight in committee meetings will be advisory only and will appear as recommendations at the City Council meeting, in which the entire City Council will have an opportunity to vote on the matter. We want to hear what everyone has to say, but we ask that the rules of procedure are followed. Anyone who wishes to speak must step up to the microphone up here. You will have 5 minutes to make your statement. Please direct your comments to the committee on the dais and not to individual members of the committee, staff, or anyone else in attendance. Public comment is an opportunity to hear from you. The intent is not a back and forth question and answer period. So with that done, roll call.
Chair Albrecht.
Yes, here.
Vice Chair Carney.
Here.
Mr. Blackburn.
Here.
Mr. Mylart.
Here.
Mr. Hudson.
Here.
Ms. Foney.
Here.
Sir, we have a quorum.
Okay. The first item on the agenda is approval of the minutes of February 10th.
Make a motion.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
All right. Nothing, no items on here requiring council action, so we'll go to 3.1, update on the Community Park Enhancement Project.
Yep, just the standard report that we do every month, and you can see there's a screenshot of the budget on the right-hand side there, and we're still tracking on budget, right on pace, so no surprises or any big ticket items that are of concerns at this point. The only thing that we are concerned about is the opening of the pool. As you may have heard or read, that we are behind schedule. Some of the contractors have noted that this is the worst winter they've seen in their career. So we actually had a winter this time in a long time, and so we've lost quite a number of days to building. So even though the contractor did obviously build weather days into their schedule, we went above and beyond. So that, in relation to some delays we had with IDPH and some scheduling delays, has just been the perfect storm. So right now we're scheduled to open, I think, on June 18th, and we'll hopefully have no more weather delays and we'll be able to open on time, but that's where we're at. We're still researching some ways to close that gap, but at this point I think we've used a lot of the bullets in our gun, so I don't really feel as if we're going to have too many more opportunities to take shortcuts or whatever. We're already working Saturdays to try and catch up, and we're doing some other measures to get on schedule, but that June 18th date is with all the extraordinary measures already taken into account, so it's likely going to be around that date.
But you're just talking about the pool itself, not the Caven Center or I know your office areas.
Yeah, great. Thanks for clearing that up. It is strictly the pool. In fact, it's specifically related to the lap pool. So leisure pool will be done, slides will be done, fencing, gates, all that stuff will be done. It's just about, at that point, applying the epoxy to the floor, to the pool, letting it dry for 7 days, applying another coat, letting it dry for 7 days. So the delays at this point are just essentially the curing of the concrete, which takes 28 days. You can't do anything about that. Like, there's no way to shorten up that schedule. Same with the applying of the epoxies and doing those types of things. Then the testing and the water testing, you can't shave time off of those, those things. So they are what they are. But yeah, everything else will be done on time, so.
Any other comments or questions from the committee?
Caven Center will be done on time too. It will be the building and some of the site work will be done likely at the end of April. That's tracking very well. The issue is we have to tear down the Caven Center and build a parking lot, and again, it's going to take 2 to 3 weeks to get the Caven Center down, and then more weeks to prep the site, and then you begin the the parking lot and all those things, while the Caven Center and the site will be done, you can't access it because the parking lot's under construction. So, so the good news is the Caven Center is doing right on schedule, right on pace. It looks great in there. We're just, now we have to move on to the parking lot. So and that's what they're doing now. The demo, we walked through with the code enforcement this morning, verified everything's off, utilities are off, electric's off, water's off. So all of that is ready to go. The permits are in place. The contractor will start likely staging tomorrow, and then word from today was that on Wednesday they're going to begin their demo. So right now that's the schedule, but it is a contractor, and so if they start tearing into it tomorrow afternoon, they may do that as well. But as of right now, today, that's where we're at.
So will summer camp be on schedule?
Yeah, summer camp will be on schedule. The actual completion date per the schedule was May 23rd, so we still feel really good about hitting that date, if not a little bit before. It's just strictly the timing it takes to do the parking lot. But yeah, we'll be in there for summer camp.
I always remember before we've had a problem with the state guy who certifies the pool, or guys, there used to be only one. Did we have a date for him to come?
Yeah, so they usually, when it comes to the IDPH inspections, they usually sub that out to local plumbers and contractors. And so we haven't had any problem getting him on site to do the inspections. It's just the guy who sits in the office who reviews the plans. That's the guy that takes forever. But yeah, doing the inspections hasn't been a problem.
Okay. Okay, any other questions from the committee? Council? Public? Okay. Good. Maybe next time you can, when you do this, just put a line over there about the dates and so we can kind of visualize where it's behind in case.
Okay.
Thanks.
Yep.
Okay, item 3.2. It's what we're all sitting around waiting for.
Oh yeah, the budget. Well, I mean, it's not anything that we haven't done before, obviously. This is a budget that's pretty much in line with past budgets. And you can see this one here is the revenue. So big revenue sources, our program revenue is just a little over $1 million. Other revenue, which comes to rental fees and those types of things, are 1.1 million. We expect around $50,000 in grants. Most that's from St. Clair County. Hope to get more, but right now that's what we're planning on. Concession sales around $500,000. Our utility tax, which is a big part of funding our operation, is 1.1 million. Sales tax, 1.6 million. Donations between trees and our partners in the park around 7,000, and then rentals down there at 817,000. So all told, I think a $6 or $6.5 million budget for revenue. Expenses, just our biggest expense is always staffing. Full-time and seasonal staff is our biggest expense at about 2.5 million. Just takes a lot. We are a department that we need people to run our programs. We need people to watch the kids. We need people to drag the fields. Our department is really staff intensive. As you know, we have about 18 full-timers, and then we'll go up to 300 seasonals throughout the year. And we need a lot of people to run the things that we do. Insurance, 6% of our budget at $376,000. We always put money away for projects. That's capital reserves. So between the three locations, we're putting about $200,000 away for future capital projects. Our bond payment is $330,000. $2.2 million in operations. Capital equipment, non-capital, that's just things we need to replace, everything from shelving to new freezers to those types of things. It's about $92,000 in equipment non-cap. Utilities, got to keep the lights on at $261,000. And then programming expense around $323,000. So, and equipment, we'll get to that in just a second, but about $100,000 in equipment. So, onto that, our big large spend items this year. We're buying a new mower for the cemetery at around $8,000 and another stand-up mower for our other parks. Again, those are just replacements, so we put a lot of hours on the mowers every year. We have over 400 acres that we maintain, and so those mowers are going, 8 hours a day from basically mid to late April all the way through, the fall when it comes to mulching and the leaves. So we do run them hard, but so we do have to replace them somewhat frequently. We're going to get a new Kubota tractor this year, and that Kubota tractor, we have another one, but the problem is we have the different mowers and different types of things that when we attach the pull-behind mower to the tractor to mow our large areas, that takes that tractor out of commission, so then we can't use it for something else. So allowing us to have a second 60 horsepower tractor will allow us to get a couple more things done and be a little bit more efficient. Another zero turn there. Again, that's a mower that's a little smaller, and we can get into tighter spots with it, but still, it's those big mowers that are, very efficient. We're going to split a wood chipper with Public Works. Jeff mentioned that last week. And with all of the tree trimming we do in all of the parks and all of the street trees, our wood chipper is the one we currently have is in repair. It's too cost prohibitive to repair it. And then when we went to rent one last year, which we thought, well, we won't buy one when we're renting it, the problem is no one's got a wood chipper. There's one wood chipper for the St. Louis region, it seems like, and everyone's fighting over it. So when you reserve the wood chipper, it might be in Imperial, Missouri. So then you either have to go down and get it, or you have to wait for them to ship it up here so we can use it. So it's been practically impossible to get a wood chipper to do our tree maintenance and such. So we elected to move forward with a purchase this year so we can have it. And again, we can use it for street trees, park trees, all kinds of different places. And then we're going to do the splash pad surfacing on the splash pad playgrounds. So that's the two playgrounds that are on each side of the playgrounds. That surfacing is at 12 years old, just needs to get replaced. So we're going to replace the surfacing on the splash pad, and that is a turf material, and we'll replace it with a turf material. And then finally, to round out, we're going to do the station floor rehab. And that will be, anybody who's going to the station knows that floor, the epoxy we put on it before, 4 or 5 years ago now, is coming up. It didn't adhere to the floor very well, so we didn't get a very good lifetime on the product we put down. So our current plan is to strip all that down and then just go with a concrete surfacing. But we have to get some quotes for that. If that doesn't work, or if it's recommended that it's going to be too slippery, then we'll go with more of a resinous floor, and that's that little thicker coating. It's got some grit in it and some flakes in it to give it a little bit of a higher look, or a better look. And so we're going to do that. Since that's coming out of the station reserves budget, you might find that we're going to do that this budget year, and I'll come to you with a budget resolution to do that, because there's not a lot of time between when the budget year starts and when the market starts. And if the project takes 2 weeks, it's going to run into the market. So we really need to start that resurfacing the week of the last week in April. So April 28th, I think, is that Monday. And that'll give us 2 full weeks to do it. We've already reserved the facility, so there's no rentals, there's no markets. It's after the last micro market, so have a small window to get it done, which is why technically we'll have to do it this budget year. So that $35,000 will essentially just not be spent in next budget years, because we'll be spending it this year. Phew. Okay. Any questions on the budget for Parks and Rec?
The update on the master plan for the parks, is that, I thought that was this year, this coming year.
Yep, it's in this year. We're going to do essentially 2, if not 3 plans. The first one will be a feasibility study to say how big is the building going to be, what's going to be in it, how many courts we need, how many amenities, do you put soccer in there, do you put baseball in there? So we're going to study all of that first, and then we'll back into a limited footprint, so you can know how big the building is gonna be. And then the third study will be the plan to figure out what else is gonna be in the park. So it'll be a big year as far as planning for the sports park.
Okay, is that a completely new?
Suppose it would be an update, because I'm sure we'll use some of the data, but we will spend a lot of time with some focus groups and talking to different groups. So even though it's technically an updated plan, it'll almost be brand new.
Don't talk to the pickleball people, because they'll want to pave the whole park and make
Yeah.
pickleball courts out of it.
Yeah.
Well, we wanted to look at, there's that whole area in the southwest corner that's vacant, and it's like, well, you know, there were some ideas about what to put there when the plan was originally done, 15 years ago, but, you know, times have changed and maybe demands have changed, and so we wanted to look at the whole park as in entirety for what other types of amenities and activities would do well there.
But it will include the whole park system.
Well,
Yeah.
the family sports park. There's already been a park master plan that talks about all parks in the whole system, but this will be a more in-depth review of the sports park itself. There's, you know, the element with the building of the indoor courts and how many courts are needed and what's the demand in the region for that, because we want to still focus on the sports park as being an economic engine and what types of things, how many courts would be enough to make it appealing for tournaments, particularly in the winter when the ball fields aren't being used. But then also, are there some other sports or activities that maybe aren't being served in the region that we could put in there as a future, for future plans that could additionally enhance the sports park for regional tournaments and activities. And so that's kind of the two prongs. There's the indoor building, but then there's also what do we do with the rest of the park and how can it be best used?
Yeah.
Okay. Anybody, committee, have question?
Yes, I have two. The equipment that you're purchasing, are you buying this locally? Do you try to purchase?
Yeah, we stick with the Toro brand. And so I don't think there's a Toro dealer in O'Fallon, but I think there's one in Collinsville, MTI or someone, so we purchased through them. And then, same with the chipper, can't get that locally. So we try and buy it from the Metro East. We don't really go to St. Louis to buy a lot of this stuff. It's all local to our area, but not necessarily or specifically in O'Fallon.
Okay. And the splash pad, when you do this turf, when are you planning on doing that?
Yeah, great question. I don't know is if you try and do it in May, you're going to run into the splash pad season. So we'll likely do it when we close the splash pad in the fall.
Okay.
Anybody else? Okay. Council?
I noticed the passes for the pool, the revenue's up, projected to be 58% higher. Can you talk about what's driving that? Is it just the anticipation that there'll be more people buying passes to play the pool, or is the price of the passes also increasing?
Yeah, they'll both be increasing and there'll be increased demand, we're sure. So I think that's what's driving our estimate on that, for sure.
Is there a ribbon cutting / day or some celebration that the community will be able to come walk through and see all the new facilities and amenities?
Yep. So we had a date locked in, and then when we got pushed back, we're trying to determine if we should push it back. But right now, it's going to be Friday before Memorial Day. So everything will be done. So likely people can still walk through. They can still see water in the pool and those types of things. So that's the date we're leaning on. Obviously June gets pretty busy, and so we're trying to lock down that date now. But that's kind of what we're leaning towards.
Andrew, have you guys set prices for the pool passes, things like that? I know we talked in the past and we want to do everything possible to make sure it's available for our residents first. So is there any established pricing yet, or is that still something you're working on?
No, we have the pricing. Yeah, I don't have it off the top of my head, but it's in that $10 to $12 range. You know, we looked at the other pools in the area, mostly what they're doing at Splash City and Collinsville, plus a lot of the St. Louis. So we looked at all of the different places, and we tried to peg a price that was right in the middle of everybody else. So, and I think we're in that $8 to $12 range, depending on resident, non-resident. It's clearly going to be more expensive for non-resident. Patrick, any idea you remember what those prices are?
We're $10 to $12 range.
Yeah, so we're in that range. Passes, you know, if we don't, passes are really hard to do this year because we don't know when the pool's gonna open. If it gets delayed till July 4th, we don't wanna get in a position where we're refunding all those pool passes either. So, and then, you know, do we prorate the pool pass? What do we prorate it at? When do we start it at? So we're really having those discussions now to try and figure out how are we gonna peg down pool passes? Do we do pool passes? Is it worth it? Last thing we wanna do is sell a pool pass and then refund everybody's money. So we're having some struggles with that.
But just going back to, well, Fallon residents will have a discounted rate
Oh,
compared
yeah.
to visitors.
Oh, for sure, 100%.
And for those who are in the voting precinct at the April 1st election, the party room at the new park office will be a voting center. So those voters will get an early look at the office. And actually, the park office is open now, so if you want to come in, you can
Come
go
on.
anytime and see and take a tour of the park office, because they're in there working now, so.
Yep, I've given quite a few tours already, right? So, yeah, come on by. It's really fun to show it off, and yeah, it's one of my favorite things to do, so stop on by.
Was it $10 to $12, David, was that for residents or guests?
Well, again, I can't remember, but it might be like youth are $10 or $8, and then adults would be 10, and then non-residents could go up to 12. I thought it was higher. I just can't remember off the top of my head. So yeah, there's youth
We'll,
prices, there are adult prices, and then
We'll
there's
get back to you
non-residents.
on that.
Yeah.
Any other questions? I have one, economic impact of the park. I know we've made some estimates, and we were going to develop a kind of a professional kind of study by somebody who was going to do it. I think we did it. Is it done now?
Yeah, so we're using the Placer AI for that.
Yeah.
And they have a new feature that they just rolled out about 2 weeks ago where they actually have implemented a spending matrix into Placer AI. And so it's still a little buggy. We tried to use it during their webinar and it didn't necessarily work out, but they're working out the kinks now. And so when you click on, let's just say the market or the sports park, they have actually applied how much visitors are spending to the matrix.
And that
So
also works for the Vine Street Market, right?
it does.
Yeah, because that's an important one to get an idea of what the impact is of those. And then the downtown days, or whatever we call that,
Yeah.
3 that we're having this summer.
Yeah, and I think that's part of the excitement. And we didn't do a Placer AI this month because of the budget, but we'll get back on to next month our Placer AI reports, and hopefully we can
Okay.
get the bugs worked out of the spending model so you can see it.
Well, instead of hiring a consultant to do a study on a certain period of time, we felt that it would be more beneficial for us to subscribe to this Placer AI, where we could get real-time data over an entire year, and any time during the year, we could pick up cell phone data, and then we can apply formulas for on spending patterns, and we can then do those analyses ourselves by using this real-time data rather than having a static report from one consultant. We felt like that was a better use.
Okay.
Yeah.
Any
Like
other
it.
questions? How about public? Okay. 3.3, Parks and Recs reports.
Well, just real quick, I have the cemetery budget here too, for those interested. It's a very small budget. I just did the screenshot so you could see kind of each individual line item there. It's at $227,000 worth of expenses, and that's just, again, mostly mowing, the mower we talked about, snow removal, grounds maintenance, all that stuff. So that's here as well for you to look through. But Again, there's no outliers here that's been any different than last year, just some percentage raises on each one of these items, and so, yeah. Okay.
Okay.
Okay. 3.3 is just a monthly report, Parks and Rec report. I've attached it just to get a more in-depth read for if anybody's interested.
Anybody have any question on those? Next month it starts to ramp up.
Yeah, some of us feel like it's already ramped up already, so.
Take your vacations now,
Yeah, exactly.
okay? Item 4.1, public comments. Any public comments want to be offered? Vern?
Vern Moyer, Ward 3. I'm just trying to get a grips on this. So, individual daily cost can range to go into the new facility between $8, $10, and $12. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, so right now, when you come to the pool, there's different rates depending on how old you are, resident, non-resident. So, for instance, a youth might come in for $8 a day. The adult, we would charge $10 a day, and then if you're a non-resident youth, you might get 12, or a non-resident adult, you might get 15. So there are different rates depending on age and residency versus non-residency.
Okay. Next question is in regard to the cemetery. I was wondering how many more years it's going to be until the canopy gets put over where Jesus is at. I guess you're going to have to wait until you add the existing crematorium blocks or drawers, whatever you want to call them, cabinets. So we're talking, we got 2 out there now. Is there, what, a grand total of 6 or 8?
Maybe 6, I can't remember off the top of my head, but it'll be another decade at
Okay.
least before we get the canopy on.
Okay, is there any other reason then why down at the O'Fallon Station that the floor is having, the problems they're having for $36,000? Are you intending on grinding that off and then just resealing it and see what happens?
Well, so when we talk to the contractor, our hope is to grind it off down to the grit, so it's like the floors you see at Home Depot or Walmart.
Yeah.
We want that look for the station. However, once the contractor looks at it, if he doesn't feel like he can get it down to that grit or he's going to be slippery, then we would audible and we would go to that resinous flooring that's likely a gray color with some flakes in it.
Okay, I just was wondering. Thank you very much.
Yep, no problem.
Anybody else? I'd like to add a comment that the first of the mini markets was a week ago, and it was well attended, and you ought to come out and enjoy it. One of the guys has bought a new truck. I think it's D&M Farms has this thing. It looks like a food locker.
It's an old
on
Swan.
wheels.
It's an old Schwann's truck. So if you remember the
Well,
days
it's
of-
old, but it's brand new.
Yeah, well, I think Schwann's went out of business right shortly after they had purchased all these trucks, and so
Yeah.
then they had to fire sale these trucks. So
It's amazing.
he bought one, and now he's got a refrigerated truck, and now we have to figure out where to put him.
And those of us who go to help him unload his pickup truck are thankful for that.
Yeah.
Because he had these huge, coolers full of frozen meat, and they must have weighed, what, 300 pounds, Jim?
So they're jurying their vendors right now, and as of today, we had 15 more vendors apply this year than we had last year. So now we're just going through them all and making sure that we have the right mix of each vendor. So they've been working hard on it, and they got a couple more days to go.
Anybody else want to add anything? Otherwise, need a motion to adjourn.
Make a motion?
Second.
All those in favor? Aye. Right on schedule. Community Development in 5 minutes.
All right, I have 6:03. We're going to call the Community Development meeting to order. If I could get a roll call, please. Albrecht. Here. Parchman. Here. Campbell. Here. Vorse. Here. Small here.
Here.
Roach. Here. All right. First order of business, 1.3, approval of minutes from our February 24th meeting.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Nay? All right, minutes approved. Thank you. On to 2.1. This is the ordinance annexing certain territory containing approximately 21.3 acres located at 1314 Posh Road. This is a second reading and no changes. Is that correct?
That is correct. There are no changes, but one comment to address public comments from the first reading. There was questions about an access easement on this property and how it came into play on annexation. So there is the Illinois Plat Act in the state of Illinois that says anything subdivided in lots greater than 5 acres do not go through the subdivision process when annexing. And so that is why there was some miscommunication from the county saying there had to be at least 60 feet of right-of-way for each lot. That is not accurate due to the Illinois Plat Act. The other issue is there is a signed easement agreement between the petitioners and Mr. Combrink that dates back a number of years, and that is still in place, and that provides access to these 3 properties. In fact, the easement agreement that was signed specifically says for 3 houses, which is what the petitioner is proposing. Now, I will say the parking lot, or not the driveway within city limits will have to be gravel, or will have to be paved. Existing today, it is a stone access easement. In the county that is owned by Mr. Combrink, that will remain a rock driveway. When it becomes in the annexed property, it will be a paved driveway.
So it was confusion from the county on what was?
There was a comment that somebody called the county and said, can he do this? And they said, well, each lot needs 60 feet of frontage on a road. That is not accurate. That would apply if This division of land was for lots under 5 acres
Okay.
each.
So they may not have had all the details of what
Correct.
that was. And then, as far as the, easement, as far as access, that's been in place and,
For a number of years, I
No
don't.
change.
2007.
okay, great. All right, any other questions or comments?
So the bottom line is, it'll be a paved access, and how wide?
No, right now it's a 20-feet easement. It is gravel in the county property
it's
that is not
gravel?
being annexed. In the annex that we're addressing tonight, that will be paved. So it'll actually go from the roadway, Posh Road, then a gravel parking, or gravel driveway, then into a paved driveway.
Okay. The fire department's looked at this? We had an incident a number of years ago where there was a gravel drive access to several properties that were back off Seven Hills Road, off Troy Scott. And a house burned down because the fire department couldn't get there because the road was too narrow.
These are still 20 feet right away, so that's
Okay,
more than.
they've
yeah.
looked at it. Okay.
All right. Any other questions or comments from the council? Yes, sir.
Just one road going into that property.
Correct.
Any other questions? Public? All right. Then we'll move on to 2.2, ordinance approving the final plot for the enclaves at Lawn Avenue.
Thank you. This is the final plat for Enclaves at Lawn Avenue. This was previously approved at the February 18th, 2025 City Council meeting for a modification of the site plan. The site plan was approved for 3 lots across 3 two-family dwellings. The drainage area at the west of the site will continue to be maintained by the lot owner and will not be a responsibility of the city. The petitioner has submitted the final plat for approval, and the Community Development and the Public Works Department have reviewed this and find it consistent with the preliminary plat and recommend approval.
Thank you. Any questions or comments from the committee?
Go back to that drawing. Back one there. I had some heartburn before about all the cuts on Lime Avenue, but
Any other questions or comments from the committee? Council?
We're talking about 5 entrances off of that piece of property. 2 for the 2 front buildings and 1 back roof.
All right, public, any additional comments, questions? All right, seeing none, I would entertain a motion for approval.
So moved.
Second.
All right, we have a motion and a second. Any further discussion from the committee? Hearing none, roll call, please.
Parchman?
yes.
Campbell?
Yes.
Force?
Yes.
Small here?
Yes.
Roach?
Yes.
And Albrecht.
No.
All right, that is approved and will be sent on to the council. All right, next up is a resolution authorizing the mayor to sign a quitclaim deed for parcel ID 04-29.0-129-007 at 513 East Washington in O'Fallon.
Yes, this is a quitclaim deed for 513 East Washington Avenue. The city acquired this property previously and subsequently demolished a home which was in disrepair. Since then, it is a vacant city-owned property. Habitat for Humanity has proposed to acquire the property for $1,000. The city has previously sold a lot to Habitat for Humanity for this price on Booster Road and Elm Street. Staff has worked with City Attorney Todd Fleming to determine by law that the city can sell the property and has prepared the resolution for approval.
Any questions or comments from the committee?
Question.
Yes.
What do we have in this place? I know we tore it down.
It's currently vacant. There's nothing on the property right now.
The cost.
Say
Oh.
that, but we've got some economic value in it. We paid for tearing it down, getting crap out of there,
I-
straightening it out.
Correct. I don't have that cost off the top of my head. I can get that before the next meeting, but right now, the city is just proposing it's sold for $1,000, which has been historically the price that we've sold to Habitat.
Cost of demolition are usually around $10,000 or so.
Did we get the lot through tax sale?
This was a condemnation that we foreclosed upon it due to code enforcement issues, abandonment, hoarding. I was personally in this house at one time, and it would never have been sold again.
Okay. Any questions, comments from the council? Public? All right.
Let me
Hearing-
just add some comments. The reason Habitat is looking at this property for this summer is that Booster Road will be turned into a real street this summer. We have 4 lots that we have extended the sewer to build 4 more homes at the end of Booster. We felt that it probably wasn't a good idea to have construction projects competing with city vehicles trying to rebuild that street. That's supposed to start, I think, in May. And that's about the time that we generally try to start a build. What happens with the Habitat house is Habitat carries the note at 0% interest for 30 years, which brings another home back onto the tax rolls. This one will, because of the size of the lot, it's 50 feet wide and 140 feet deep. So it will accommodate our standard 3-bedroom, 2-bath, 1,323 square foot house with a porch. It'll have the standard 25-foot setback from the street. Parking will be in the rear off the alley. There'll be a house and a shed, a 10 by 12 shed on the back of the lot. Be very similar to the homes that are on Carson and also the ones that are on Booster. So it's the home costs about $100,000 to build. We generally try to recoup the cost, the hard dollar costs that are into the house for Habitat so that we can build another house. So, but that's the reason for building as an infill over on East Washington instead of building where we have 4 additional lots to build on Booster.
All right, thank you. I know you're closely involved with it. What is the value of the house when you're generally done?
Generally, they appraise for about $160,000.
Okay. And how many families have you helped get home ownership here in O'Fallon?
This will be number 11.
That's awesome.
We built this one.
That's awesome.
We've built 3 4-bedrooms, and the rest have been 3, well, the first ones were 3-bedroom, 1.5-bath, and then we figured out how to get a second bath out of it so that they're the ones built since the one built at 204 Carson have been full 3 2-bath homes. So.
Awesome. Thank you for sharing that. All right. With that, I would entertain a motion for approval.
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion from the committee?
I'm going to recuse myself from the vote since I have an interest.
Understood. All right. With that, roll call, please.
Force.
Yes.
Small Hair.
Yes.
Roach.
Yes.
Albrecht.
Yes.
Parchman.
Yes.
All right. We'll send that on to the council as well.
Thank you.
Next up, 2.4, special event permit request for Hot Rods for Hope Carglow.
This is a special event permit request from Glow for Hope non-for-profit. The event is Hot Rods for Hope Carglow. It's located on First Street between Lincoln and Cherry. This event was held last year, and the setup will be the same. The date for this event is proposed to be Thursday, May 8th, 2025, from 5:30 to 11 p.m. However, the event is only open to the public until 10 o'clock p.m. The event includes a live band, no outside vendors or food trucks. First Street Lounge and Peel Pizza will serve food and alcohol outside of their establishment, which would require them to obtain a Class L extended premise liquor license for the one-day event.
The band will set up on a trailer bed on First Street in front of the caboose. Cars will be set up on Cherry Street and Lincoln Avenue. KC 95 will arrive and be set up from 7 to 9 p.m. Staff does recommend approval upon the remittance of an application for the Class L liquor license from Peel and First Street Lounge. And the petitioner is here if you have any questions.
All right, thank you. Any, yes?
I have a question. Why is the public only allowed until 10 p.m.?
That's the event. They are proposing until 11 o'clock for cleanup and to clear out setup.
So we're having an event on a public street that the public can't go to?
No, the proposed event is from 5:30 to 10 o'clock p.m., although they are asking for an additional time to take everything out and disassemble.
Okay. Your thing says time 5:30 to 11.
That's for the proposed for the street closures. The event will close at 10. They will then start removing everything from 10 to 11 p.m.
Okay.
Any additional questions or comments from the committee? No. Council? No? You look like you had one. I was ready to call on you.
I did.
Okay.
I know that on the market, or on district nights, we shut down at 9 o'clock, right? Sell alcohol, like that. And what we're doing here is letting them stay open until 10.
So District Nights is the entire downtown area, as well as we close down Lincoln. And so that's more of, since Downtown District Nights is our event in partnership with the district, that is just the times we've set. There was no rhyme or reason why we stop it at 9, other than we didn't want the band to play after 9. Yes, we have the petitioner here if they'd like to step forward. Yep, if you could please stand up to the microphone and introduce yourself, that'd be helpful.
If you could use the microphone, that anybody online or recording can hear you. Thank you.
Sure. I'm Kelly Pelker. I'm basically a lifelong resident of O'Fallon, and I founded this organization in July 2023. It's for suicide prevention and mental health awareness. And we just do a lot of different unique events. Hot Rods for Hope is one of our signature events, in addition to a Glow volleyball, sand volleyball tournament. So, anything else?
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Any other questions or comments from the council? Public?
Mr. Chair, I do want to make one comment just to explain the process of road closures in the downtown area. We do require, on any road closures, the applicant or the petitioner to meet with the O'Fallon Downtown District, discuss the idea with them. I know there was always concerns about did they walk and ask if they could close down parking. We use the district as a membership-based group to kind of vet those. They do have to meet with them now prior to applying through the city for a special event of closing parking in downtown.
Okay. And I notice it is noted that the other businesses are already closed at 6. So.
Yep.
All right. Any other comments from the committee? Otherwise, I entertain a motion. Oh, yep. Okay.
So I think, and not about anything in particular, but what is the difference between having something closed at 9 and 10? Like besides, I mean, I get it's a block versus a whole street, but other, church events, it's one time and this is an hour later. So what is the deciding factor between something closing down at 9 and 10?
I think what he had said before, it was simply that they requested 9. If the city and the downtown district had requested 10, we may have proposed 10, right? Is that?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay,
Yeah,
so just as a general point of context.
Well, I think
what is the thing?
specifically with the bands we reserved for the district, or downtown district nights is they charged more after 10, or after 9.
Making sure each event would be on its own merit for what time?
Yeah, absolutely. We would look at every event from a public safety standpoint and everything.
Do-
Obviously, there's an inherent risk of the later events go, the more potential danger there could be. So every special event is reviewed by each city department for each concerns that relates to their department.
Yeah. So we don't have a strict policy of if you close down a road or if you're downtown, it closes at this time?
That is
Right.
correct.
Right, so each one's just looked at separately, yeah.
I could speak to it a little bit.
Sure,
As far
yeah.
as what our time requests are, is just out of respect for the businesses that are downtown, and they're usually closed by 6. It's open to the public from 7 to 10, and the times on each end of it are strictly for our setup and allowing everything to get in there properly and safely.
Thank you. Ross?
I'm looking through the code of ordinances. We have quiet hours. I can't find it. What are the quiet hours normally outside of this event?
10 PM.
Okay, thanks.
I'm curious, what did some of the merchants that might be open, most of them are closed by then, but there's a couple of restaurants along there this is going to really impact, what they have to say?
Again, that is part of the downtown district's responsibility in downtown events through the chamber is a membership base. So when they apply,
Come on, you're shucking the job. What?
The only 2 restaurants that I believe are
Yeah,
there.
did they get asked?
Is Peel and First Street.
Yeah, they'll be selling food and liquor for these events.
Yeah,
Okay.
They'll
'cause
strictly
they're not
be,
shutting down across Cherry or Lincoln.
No.
No, there's only 2.
Right.
Yes.
And they're part of it.
Okay.
correct. Yeah, and we did meet with Debbie, John Green Street, and the downtown district with the petitioner as part of the pre-application meeting before this was submitted.
All right. More questions than I thought. Any other questions or comments? All right, good discussion. All right, now I would entertain a motion.
So moved.
Second.
All right, we have a motion, and a second. Any further discussion from the committee? I just dare ask. No. Roll call, please.
Campbell,
Yes.
Vorse.
Yes.
Small here.
Yes.
Roach.
Yes.
Albrecht.
Yep.
Parchman.
Yes.
All right, thank you. We'll send that on to the council as well. 2.4, excuse me, 2.5, special event permit request for Family Eye Care of O'Fallon Trunk or Treat.
Yes, this is for, the applicant is the Family Eye Care of O'Fallon. Their event is their annual trunk or treat located at the Insight Professional Park. Address is 735 Insight Avenue. The proposed date for this event is Saturday, October 18th, 2025, from 4 o'clock to 8 o'clock p.m. There's a minimum of 20 cars that will participate in this event. They're anticipating around 200 in attendance. They're requesting to have signage next to Highway 50 to direct traffic to their event, which is indicated on their site plan. Staff does recommend approval for this event.
Thank you. Any questions or comments from the committee? Council?
We did this last year. And then this is private property anyway, isn't it?
that is correct. Why it is a special event is because of the off-site signage.
And the purple is parking? Is that what that is? Truck, oh, that's
I don't know what you're pointing at, but
parking. It's yellow.
I would have to pull up the site plan, but either the yellow or the purple is going to be for public parking, and the other indicated place on the site plan is where the 20 cars will be for participants to do the trunk or treat.
So since this is just a private area, what they're really wanting is the signs, correct?
Correct. They're going to be doing signage along outside of the property in the right-of-way directing traffic to the site.
Yeah, and the yellow is the parking, you are right. All right, any other questions from the council? Public? All right, I would entertain a motion for approval.
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion, a second. Any further discussion from the committee? Hearing none, roll call, please.
Small here.
Yes.
Roach.
Yes.
Albrecht.
Yes.
Parchman.
Yes.
Campbell.
Yes.
And Vorse.
Yes.
All right, last up, 2.6, another special event permit request, this one for Southern Illinois Ice Hawks end-of-season party.
This special event application is from the Southern Illinois Ice Hawks for their end-of-season party located at 205 Recplex Drive on Saturday, April 5th, 2025, from 11 a.m. to 2 p.m. Coaches will have a hockey game inside the facility. They will have 4 to 5 food trucks outside along with a bounce house. Participants will be using restrooms inside the facility, and the applicant will be posting signage that all alcohol must remain inside the building, since McHenry Metro Recplex will hold the liquor license for the event. Staff does recommend approval of this event. All food trucks must be approved vendors, and the O'Fallon Public Safety Department will coordinate local weather, and should a risk arise, they have reserved the right to suspend the event.
Thank you. Any questions, comments from the committee? Council? Come on, you got to have one. No? Okay. Thank you. All right, public? All right. Hearing none, I entertain a motion for approval.
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion, a second. Any further discussion from the committee? Hearing none, roll call, please.
Roach?
Yes.
Albrecht?
Yes.
Parchman?
Yes.
Campbell?
Yes.
Vorse?
Yes.
Small here.
Yes.
All right, we'll be sending that on as well to the council. And next up, 4.1, any public comments? Public comments? Yes, sir.
Vermiller Ward 3. This is a community development where projects are developed and brought forth and everything, correct? Okay. I was wondering why there's been an addition put on the Harley Davidson store out there. I was wondering why that hasn't been brought forth. And then there's some new construction going on Hartman Lane where I don't know exactly what I remembered as was a turkey type farm area there where a guy raised turkeys and sold them, and they're building something there, and I hadn't seen any paperwork on either one of those projects of coming before the committees. I just wonder what the deal was. Thank you.
I'll let you respond, but I believe it's because they were already within the zoning and requirements, so they could go through the normal building process of submitting the applications?
That is correct. Both were zoned appropriately already for their expansions. Harley Davidson was permitted. One of the benefits of that is there had been some issues with that outdoor storage. They're moving that stuff inside. They're also getting more into the side-by-side sales. I'm going to be totally honest with you, I have no idea where the turkey farm is. But there are 2 constructions on Hartman Lane. But if you have more details, I can help explain which one is the turkey farm.
Sure. So if you can get us more details, he can certainly look into it.
I'm trying to get the address of.
Sure. Thank you. All right. Any other comments? Anybody online? No? All right. Then I would entertain a motion for adjournment.
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? We are adjourned.
Public safety in 2 minutes at 6:31.
How you doing?
All right, we'll call the Public Safety meeting to order. Can we get a roll call, please?
Force,
I'm here.
Van Hook,
Here.
Lotz,
Here.
Rosenberg,
Present.
Phony.
Here.
All right. You all have a copy of the minutes. Can we get approval for minutes?
So moved.
Got a motion? Go ahead,
Second.
All right. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Okay. Minutes passed. All right. 2.1, Chief.
It's a resolution authorizing the mayor to sign a coordinated communications services contract renewal between the city of O'Fallon and the village of Shiloh for dispatch services. This is something we do every year at our MECOM, our dispatch center, dispatches for Shiloh Police Department. Last year, the charge was $172,500. We did about a 4.5% increase to $180,000 with Shiloh. This is an annual thing.
All right. Is there any other discussion? Council? Public? All right. We'll take a motion to approve.
Second.
We've got a motion and a second. Roll call, please.
Force,
Yes.
Van Hook,
Yes.
Lotz,
Yes.
Rosenberg,
Affirmative.
Phony.
Yes.
All right. That passes. How about Chief White? Ready for your budget?
Yep. Budget, we'll let Brad go first.
Yeah, so mine will be pretty easy, pretty quick. That first slide here is just kind of some of the stats of where we're at in life with the fire department. Again, we're around 60 people, 5 full-time, and then the rest are part-time and paid on call. Pretty unique, but if you put it in scale, we're the same size as Belleville City, which is a career department with 60 career firefighters covering about 45,000 people as well. So we're doing it quite a bit cheaper and at the same response rates as they are. Our calls for service, again, went up just a bit last year, as it does every year. But out of those 1,284 calls, 852 of them we classified as non-emergencies. So those are like public service, good intent, and false alarms. So public services are going out changing smoke detectors or helping people with a water leak instead of calling the water department or a power line down or something. Anything that's not really a traditional fire response, but we get called to do. The good intent calls are those things where people call in for an emergency, they saw a fire or an accident, and we get in the area with law enforcement and stuff, but we can't find anything. So maybe they just saw, mistook something for, an emergency and it wasn't. And then the false alarms are predominantly all of our commercial locations when they have their alarms activate or residents burning food typically that sets off their monitored systems. So pretty routine responses for us. Mutual aid calls provided and received are about the same as every year. We go out quite a bit more than most departments to help folks in need, especially down the hill, Caseyville, Washington Park, East St. Louis area. They struggle to get out the doors, so they know we have a crew on duty and we go down to assist when they have a larger event. And then just our community outreach, and I've talked about it before, so we're huge believers in getting the information out early to prevent the incident from occurring, and we'll continue to do that. We were fortunate enough today, the Rotary Club, the Noontime group, donated 100 fire extinguishers to our department, so we'll get them back out onto the streets and put our guys in the neighborhoods looking to get those into the houses to prevent the fires as we go forward. So the next slide. So then budget-wise, our budget really doesn't change year to year. We don't draw from the general fund, so it's just off the tax money we bring in. So we have about $2.5 million this coming budget year. When looking at the numbers, 1.1 million of that is basically the pay for our full-time, part-time, and our volunteers. About 200,000 is our typical maintenance. Everything that we have is required to go through some sort of annual inspection or evaluation, so it costs us a small fortune to do that every year. And then training and equipment, or training our personnel. So we'll spend a little bit more this year. A lot of the grant money has dwindled up. The state's not receiving nearly as much as they used to. So many of the programs that were free for us for the last 3 or 4 years we'll start having to pay again. So on average, about $1,000 per person for most of the classes. So that'll lead into our budget a bit, but we're willing to put forth that into the training. And then we're putting away about $450,000 into our capital reserves, and that will go towards the purchase of that new squad we've talked about a couple of times. That picture there is what we currently have, the 45-foot heavy rescue. Our cost estimate right now, we were working with 3 or 4 vendors. to put together either a commercial or custom chassis. The commercial stuff is the Freightliners or international style chassis, and the customs are what you see like that. There is a Spartan chassis. It's kind of unique to the fire service. So there's kind of a big difference in the cost. The commercial stuff will come somewhere probably around $600,000 to $700,000. If we go with a commercial chassis like we now have, we'll probably be closer to $800,000. So we're leaning towards the commercial to save money, but we're just kind of waiting to see what the final cost estimates are for all of them, and then make the best judgment out of that. So unless you guys have questions, I mean, that's kind of it in a nutshell for us, money in, money out.
All right, thank you. Any discussion on that? Council? Public? All right. EMS?
EMS, right now, I'd say we're fully staffed at 18 full-time paramedics. Actually, we're at 17. We had somebody go over to the St. Louis side, so we're interviewing right now. We have 3 supervisors. You can see our calls for service in 2024, we're up 6.47% at 6,100 calls. And we only charge when we transport, so we had 4,636 transports, and then 1,500 of the non-transport, no charges. Continue to do community outreach with Stop the Bleed, CPR, child safety, and then a quick look at our mutual aid calls for service. When we look at the actual EMS budget, we do have an increase. We do have an ambulance ordered. We ordered an ambulance last year, so you'll see in vehicles that we have an ambulance ordered to replace that we delivered later this calendar year. Some of the things that went up a little bit, we do have a baby simulator, a mannequin baby simulator that they're going to be purchasing this year out of equipment. And then some of the things, some of the maintenance was a little bit of an increase when you guys approved all these Lucas, the stair chairs, the Lucas devices, all the stretchers and stuff. Those things all have batteries that need to be replaced out every couple of years. So we're finding that we're getting on a cycle of replacing some of those batteries out, so that way they maintain their status. Operating supplies are going to go up as we have more calls, as well as professional services. Professional services is Mediclaims. That's who we bill out. So the more money that we bill out, the more money they collect that we have to pay them. We're doing a pretty good job of keeping operating supplies low. And then you see there's an increase, a pretty good increase in maintenance and buildings. We had a couple things that the fire department wasn't able to fund this year over at Firehouse 3, and since our ambulance crews use Firehouse 3 a lot, we decided to allocate about $77,000 out of the EMS budget to fix a boiler over there. I think there's some HVAC issues. We're going to need to put a new HVAC system in there. Not nearly as robust as the HVAC that went in public safety, so don't worry about that. It's a smaller area, I think, is a residential, but we're going to put a commercial HVAC system in there as well. Other than that, I think that's, unless you have any questions specifically about the thing. Computer services, yeah, that one went up a little bit. New patient care reporting system, which is ESO, which will be going online at the next month. You guys approved that for this year. I've tasked our EMS to try to find leadership classes and different types of training. There's a lot of training for police. There's a lot of training for fire. There's not a lot of training for EMS, so sometimes we have to travel to show those. Some documentation training to try to improve some of our billing, and then our legal was going to go up for all 3 of our, for MECOM, EMS, and police, because next year will be a contract year. So as we go back into negotiating contracts, I anticipate, obviously, we're going to have some legal fees for our thing. And then we continue to put money into our capital reserve to put away for our ambulance replacements, which come about every about every 5 years. So, questions?
I have a question. Chief, can you talk about the time spent on calls? Is that increasing? I'm just looking at the difference between the calls for service, how many end up being not transported, therefore there's no physical reimbursement other than taxpayer money. And with the increase in that we're seeing in the falls, which you and I have talked about, what's being looked at in terms of time on calls, getting back into service quickly, and a lot more of those calls being non-reimbursable.
And we do have a lot of them being reimbursable because of the fact we have the hospital so close. When we, having St. Elizabeth's and having Memorial Hospital within our district creates a very quick turnaround time. And I think when we look at what the mutual aid calls is a big thing that I'm always looking at, because the number one thing that I want to make sure for our community is that we have ambulances and paramedics available for 911 calls, for emergency calls. So we do a lot of transports, and those things bring in revenue when we have transports, but I want to make sure that when you call 911 and you need an ambulance there and that you're going to get one from our town. So when we look at mutual aid, we had to call mutual aid 90 times in 2024, which was down from 94 in 23. That means that we didn't have an ambulance available, and we had to call MedStar or Abbott or one of the outside ambulances to come in and handle a call for us. We let them handle a lot of the transports if we're busy, because we want to maintain an ambulance in our town for our residents. I've said it many times that public safety is not free, and we don't operate on a revenue system where we're out there just trying to make money. The main goal of having our ambulance system is to provide that service to our residents, because those are the people that pay the taxes for that. So, I think I haven't noticed to answer your question, I haven't noticed a real big issue with the amount of time on calls. And it's helped out a lot because we did add those extra paramedics, and we're keeping 3 trucks on. We're trying to keep 3 trucks on most of the time to prevent some of that burnout, to prevent some of that, with those times on calls, and divide those calls up throughout the city.
All right. Any other questions? Council? Public? Okay.
MECOM, yes, we're sitting at 14 full-time telecommunicators and 6 part-time right now. We're down 3. We're training some right now. I'm always looking for additional training opportunities for our TCs. Did we skip a page? Nope, never mind, that's the next one. You'll see that we have a little bit of an increase in professional services. We've added some money there to do a recruitment video for our TCs. It's something that we haven't had a lot of opportunities to do. And then in equipment, we had some extra money put into the equipment, obviously, to replace some of the chairs, and then something called a KVM switch. If you've ever been in our dispatch center, you'll notice that they have 10 different monitors. And so they have these monitors, and they have a mouse, and the mouse will move around. And you can imagine if you're on the phone and you're talking and you're trying to figure out which monitor your mouse is on, and you're trying to click on things because that's where the radio is. This KVM switch, obviously, it actually kind of lights up the screen that you're using. So it allows them to be a little bit more efficient in trying to get to what they need to do as they're managing EMS, fire, police. They're talking on the radio, they're clicking on this, they're looking up something through the 911 system. Everything's through those computers. So I asked them, I said, is it going to make you more efficient? Is it going to be better for you? And they're like, yes. And I said, well, let's do it. So it's not terribly expensive, but that's in there. If you look at the calls for service, you can see we're still running about 99,000 or almost 100,000 calls for service. Our 911 calls went down a little bit, and that was because there was an update with one of the major phone carriers that made it a little harder to not call 911. I guess in 2023, there's a lot of 911 calls because there was a lot of accidental 911 calls. So they've fixed that. So some of our 911 calls have gone down. And then you look at our daily average, 271 calls per year. And looking at this, I don't really have anything different with the MECOM. Everything is pretty standard. Any questions with the MECOM budget? All right, OPD, currently sitting at 49 officers. We're in the process of hiring the 50th. We had an interview today. We'll have an interview tomorrow. We still have overtime for unfunded mandated training that we're trying to do. We've actually going to use some of our overtime this year to train on our new tasers that are coming in. We do have a couple of new positions that that are showing up. The full-time social worker is in the budget, and I'm really excited about that program as that kind of takes off, after May 1st. And then we did have a little increase. We had an increase in part-time salaries due to an increase in wages. We're moving our CSOs up to $18 an hour. It's getting hard to recruit them when they can make just as much working at Target or in any restaurant making tips. So you'll see an increase in some of the equipment, and that's the TASER contract, which you guys approved this past year for $47,000 a year. We continue to get out there and engage with the community with 1,100 hours in 2024. I talked about legal fees already. And then we have vehicle replacements. We have 3 patrol vehicles, a supervisor vehicle, a CID admin vehicle, and a CSO truck. And we're going to be using our DUI funds to purchase one of those patrol vehicles. We've got about $50,000 sitting in that account right now, and we can buy one of the vehicles out of there, so it doesn't hit the budget. Is that it? That's it for PD. Any questions? Like every other year, salaries and take up about 75% of our full budget, salaries and benefits. All right, Board of Fire and Police Commissioners. Not much going on. I mean, it's there. It's not a testing year. It is a very shallow budget. Professional services, marketing, advertising. We use that to whenever we're doing any kind of posts for our police department or advertising. We're going to take money out of that, but we don't have a lot of money in that account, so that was super easy there. Does everybody want to go home? I like it.
Any final comments, questions? Council? All right, public comments? No public here? Nothing online? All right, take a
I
look.
told Andrew we had 3 wood chippers that we were going to get rid of, but just kidding.